The wait is over, and I cannot wait. Stone Cold Podcast returns to the WWE Network on June 1st. And can you imagine this? Stone Cold Steve Austin and Paul Heyman will be on the same podcast at the same time. You want to talk about something that's going to probably be a hell of a lot better, miles better than anything on Monday Night Raw. Listen, Jericho's podcasts range from okay to decent, but Stone Cold Steve Austin goes that line. Stone Cold comes walking that line, and he asks the questions. He gets down to what people want to know and the questions that they want to be answered. Stone Cold Steve Austin will say how it is. He will tell you how he feels. And can you imagine the combustible units in this? You have Stone Cold and Paul Heyman, who worked together in not only WCW, ECW, WWE. They've been in the same company at the same time for several years. This right, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be epic stuff. As long as the WWE doesn't play too much into this and water it down and say, well, there is some limits here and there. Stone Cold Steve Austin has to go all out. And I'll tell you what, right now, this is going to be better than any other podcast Jericho's ever done. Any other podcast that anybody else would ever do on the WWE Network, as long as Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't have the limitations. Can you imagine the questions that's going to be asked to Paul Heyman? Can you imagine how Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to the effect that Austin and Heyman will have on this effect, the effect that it'll have on the WWE Network, and what a way to get more subscribers to buy the network by tuning into the Stone Cold Podcast. That is, if they don't decide to have the network for free again in the month of June. But this is great news. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Paul Heyman on a podcast. I'm going to assume it's going to be after Monday Night Raw, but who knows, maybe it could be before Monday Night Raw. I was expecting Chris Jericho's podcast to be with Paul Heyman. And like I said, I don't know how much it was Jericho's fault that those podcasts weren't better than what they should have been, because we all know what a great talker Jericho is. We know his insight. We know his, he can be controversial, but nobody can, get down, as they say, like Stone Cold Steve Austin can, and that definitely is the bottom line. Can you imagine what is going to go on? What is going to be said? Who is going to talk the talk when Stone Cold Podcast returns to the WWE Network? Your comments and your opinions, and what should be one of the most must-see podcasts in WWE Network history. Subscribe.